Hey there folks, and welcome back for another weekend shave. And I'm going to do a lot of talking in this video about my upcoming video today, later today, which is basically the ratings of soaps slash vendors. I'm not so much rating the vendors as their product, and you'll see. But before I get to that, I wanted to make a note of something. And this video may be a little bit longer because I really want to talk about a lot of material while I shave. Trying a new blade today, Rapira, and I've had them forever, and I just decided they're very inexpensive, so let's try one or a number of them and see how it goes, see if they're worth buying. If you are a razor manufacturer, particularly DE style, one of the things I want to call to your attention, and this is something that Razor Rock and Wolfman does very well. You see those notches there, which are good sized? That blade fits in there and locks down very tight, so there's no wiggle room, and it's not hard to get the blade in straight where you worry about uneven exposure and all that jazz. If you're a razor manufacturer, please look at the Razor Rock Black Mamba and the Wolfman, which has notches, and if possible, if you can implement those sort of notches or good sized round holes to lock that blade in. The ATT above the tie is one of my favorite razors of all time. It is truly excellent, but the only knock on it is it has these little tiny pegs or pins, and sometimes the blade is hard to lock in. And for that reason, I ultimately got rid of my ATTs. I just didn't like dealing with that. However, I will say it is a fantastic razor and well worth purchasing if you can overlook that. And I hope at some point Stan might consider making those pegs a little bit bigger so they can really grab onto that blade a bit easier. But Stan makes a great razor regardless, so it doesn't really matter. I think that would enhance it, however. All right, that said, the reason I picked the Black Mamba is because the inspector has my 4P OC, I think it's called, which is a Razor Rock value razor. In the video later today, I have a sort of a budget category because I don't think it's really fair to compare $20 soaps to $7, $8, $9 soaps. And so Sterling will be one of the soaps featured in that budget section, along with Razor Rock, although the Black Mamba is not inexpensive. Razor Rock, Sterling, and Shave Revolution. This is the usurper here, what I call it, a usurper. And the reason I called it that, because it was the first brush for me that really surpassed the Plisson. I think Justin at Shave Revolution called it something different, but these three brands, Razor Rock, Shave Revolution, and Sterling, represent, I think, excellent value. So when I say budget in the upcoming video, don't assume that means cheap or ineffective, because I think the Sterling soap in my tiered system is pretty close to a tier 1 soap. Razor Rock soap I would put in tier 2, still very good. But anyway, I just wanted to explain that, and let's get to loading instead of babbling. And I'll explain sort of my approach to the upcoming video and how I sort of ended up where I ended up with respect to the rankings. The first thing to consider is all the soaps that I purchased were purchased at the latest in July of 2015, I want to say. So there are some brands who come out with new formulations after that time, and those soaps are not being evaluated. So I'm evaluating soaps that came out in the first half of 2015 and earlier, 2014, 2013, etc. So please keep that in mind. There are new artisans, there are artisans who have reformulated, and they may have come a long way. But the reason I stopped buying soaps in June or July of 2015 is because it became apparent to me at that time that it was impossible for me to keep up with all the new soaps. Yes, our pass-around group was receiving a soap, maybe a soap every week or so here and there. We might have gotten, I don't know, 10 or 11 soaps in total over the period of a number of months to evaluate, and we passed it around. But the rest of those soaps were being purchased by me, and I was spending thousands of dollars a year and soap buying just for the sake of trying them and making videos, some of which I kept, some I did not. Ultimately, it led to me having far too many soaps, which I eventually got rid of most. But what I ended up doing was settling in and really using the soaps that I kept, which I evaluated, over a period of 6 or 7 months, using them a number of times in a row and comparing them against other soaps. And that's how I came to my conclusions in terms of where my ratings video. It's not really a rating system, sort of a top list sort of scenario. This is how this came about. Let me wet my face and we'll continue. At any rate, as I was using these soaps, repeatedly and comparing them against other soaps, Artisans, I was really able to finally tell a bit of difference between. Now, I still say there's this much difference between most of the top Artisans. I mean, they're that good. But there is a little daylight between the top soaps and the ones that are just very close to it. And that will be covered in my video. And again, I want to caution, and I want to say this a number of times so people understand. These are for soaps purchased in the first half of 2015. So please keep that in mind and do not email me saying, well, you haven't tried Phoenix 3.0. I have not. You haven't tried the new X or Y formulation. I have not. Like I said, it was impossible for me to stay on top of the new soaps and also reasonably evaluate the soaps I had. Phoenix alone will break you if you buy all their products. He will release 2 or 3 products sometimes in a week on separate days, and then you have to buy the product, then you pay shipping, and a couple of times in a week, after a while, you're really racking up some charges. And if you don't believe me, I could pull up my purchase history from Phoenix and show you. I mean, it adds up. And when you consider you're doing that with all these Artisans, and new Artisans are coming up virtually weekly, it was impossible to continue that format of videos where I'm really trying to lather these soaps, use them, and give you a quick evaluation. And it was just something that I couldn't do. In addition, I got much busier, both in life and at work, having to, try to get things done outside before the summer ended. Work became busier, and I didn't have the time to do it either. In addition to that, it just got old putting up with all the nonsense. So I took a good break where I continued to shave and evaluate products on a regular basis, but really try to think about how the products were performing for me as I was evaluating them. And so that's how I ended up coming to the conclusions that I have. All right, let me rinse the face. We'll come back and discuss some more. And by the way, the Sterling Sharpgrass Man is one of my favorite scents in the world. And this stuff produces a very slick and wonderful lather. So when you're watching that video, please keep in mind, budget doesn't mean bad or cheap. It may mean inexpensive, which in my mind is different from cheap. At any rate, back on the topic, really had a lot of time to evaluate the soaps that I kept against one another. And that's really the only way you can rate them, is to sort of use them against one another and figure out which ones are just a hair slicker, which ones yield a bit richer lather. When I speak of rich lather, I mean lather that has some substance to it. That it's not, you can have lather that has sort of micro bubbles in it, even that is not necessarily all that perceptible to the eye, but you can feel it. And some of the soaps I felt were not as rich, creamy as others, for example. And so those soaps would not be in my tier 1. Now, that could be just a fraction of a hair below the other soaps that puts them in that next level. And they're still very good. I want to make that clear. But some soaps, which people I know would expect me to rank in my top 5 tier, did not make it. And I know that some are going to be upset about this. Some are going to say that it's personal, and I assure you it is not. I have not taken personal relationship into effect whatsoever, either plus or negative, because I like almost every shave vendor and artisan quite a bit, 99% of them. But you can't honestly evaluate the product if you're taking that into consideration. Now, I do mention it in my video that I feel that these are great people, blah, blah. I mention that. But please keep in mind, when I mention it, I did not take that into consideration at all when I did my evaluation. It's, who they are as a person is not relevant. What they have done, if they've done anything for me. And for example, Phoenix and at the time it was How to Grow Mustache, Katie's Bubbles made a soap sort of in my honor, and I'm greatly appreciative of that. But I did not consider that in my evaluation at all. Just didn't consider. I don't think it's fair to the viewer to consider that. I owe you, the viewer, my full honesty, and that's what you'll get later today. Stand by. And I know before I air the video, there's going to be a tendency on the part of some to challenge my experience. But you're the only one who can speak to your experience. For some people, they feel X product is better than Y, and it is for them. But for me, this is how things fell out. I know some of the artisans are going to want to challenge, and they believe their product is better than most of the others, and some probably feel their product is better than all. And that's natural. You're going to be proud of your product, and you're going to think it's the best of the best, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But what you cannot do is challenge someone's experience and how the shave went. Only they know, the customer, how that shave went. And so, one other thing I want to point out is what you're seeing now, where I'm taking just a little bit more time to lather, is how I did the evaluations. A lot of times in a video, I will speed things up deliberately for the sake of time. I'm not doing that today, nor did I do it during my evaluations. I really took my time, thought about it, felt my face, and that's how I come out with this rating. So again, I know you're probably saying, boy, he's really explained these things ad nauseum, but I think it's important to understand the context because, again, not everyone's going to be happy. I know there will be people disappointed, but this is just my experience, just one individual, And there are many of you who will feel, well, X or Y brand is far better than what he said. And for you, it probably is. But for me, it's not. And it's just for my use case. So always consider that when you're watching these videos or reading written reviews. We can really only speak of our experience. We just can't declare X, Y, and Z to be the flat best. We can say it's the best for us. And that's really as much as you can do. And that's sort of what I'm doing. I'm just saying these 5 are the best that Artisan soaps have to offer all around in this price range, more or less. These are the products in the budget range that I feel the best all around. Then I have a tier 2, which is these are not quite as good in my estimation, Or, something that's very important for me to convey, they're not as consistent. And what I mean by that is, you could have one soap that, say, performs at a 10 level in that brand, and then the next one may perform at a 6 or 7 level. Their brand is not consistent across all its products. Stand by, let me rinse my face, we'll come back to the post. So as I'm gathering my materials here for the post, and of course we'll start with the Thayer's Witch Hazel, because it's magic made by witches. I want to continue to explain how I rated this, or what it was based on. And the basis is performance, absolutely. And by performance, I mean both primarily, I should say, performance of the soap itself in terms of lathering, post-shave, all the rest, and scent taken into consideration to a certain extent, to a smaller extent. So, although I think in the video I neglect to mention that I threw scent into the equation for a small part, I'm mentioning it now. So please understand that it's 90% performance and scent maybe 10 is how I came to my conclusion on these soaps. Because to me, there is scent performance and there's absolute shave performance, and to me scent's important. So I don't feel it would be a true evaluation if you don't factor in scent to a certain degree. And if you don't, I think it's tough to really, because let's face it, we are attracted to certain scents, and it will make us think that things are better than what they are at times. I mean, it's happened with me. I'm going to use today, again, representing the value product, Sterling Sharp Dressed Man, or Sharply Dressed Man, as I said erroneously a number of times. And this bottle I took with me on vacation, or not vacation, but to visit relatives for Christmas, and I still have a little left. So Inspector Fernicola says that's not near enough aftershave, but I want to tell you something. When you're using this Sterling Sharp Dressed Man, this this aftershave packs a lunch. I mean, and that is to say, you will be smelling this, at least I do, sometimes in excess of 12 hours, and that's no joke. I have put this on at 5 in the morning, and I went to bed at 9, and still smelled it, because I take a shower in the morning, not at night. And I've washed my hands a dozen times in a day, and could still smell this on my hands. Now, for me, that's a great thing. Some people might say that's too potent. It works great for me. Anyway, so today's shave, let's just wrap it up. The Shave Revolution, I call it Usurper. I think Justin calls it something else. Great brush. The first brush really for me, non-Plaisant branded, that really upset the apple cart of shaving brushes, in my opinion. Sterling Sharp Dressed Man aftershave and soap, excellent value. And last but not least, the now unobtainium level RazoRock Black Mamba, which is an excellent razor. One of the things I want to say, and unfortunately Joe's not making this razor anymore, the coating on this is magnificent. It doesn't show anywhere. It will collect soap scum, but you can remove that soap scum, and it looks like the day I bought it. So it's one of those investments that was a little more pricey, but I'm glad I made the investment. Thanks, Joe, for making this razor. And again, calling your attention to those pegs that really hold that blade in tight. I really like that in a safety razor. All right, guys. Thanks as always for watching. Please stay tuned later today for that video where I finally get back with you and rate those Artisan soaps, or which I believe are the best of the best. Stay tuned for that, and thanks for watching.